I'm going to talk about digital parenting, safeguarding teenagers' well-being. Well, as was mentioned earlier, this is already our second year of being in this situation. We were thrown into this situation contrary to our preference and contrary to what we want. I know many of you are missing real face-to-face interaction with your colleagues, with your office mates. For those of you whose children have been staying at home to continue with their education, you know how tough it has been. I mean, really, everyone is affected. So, my role here today is how to make sure that you are okay. That's a concern of the school. Gusto ng eskwelahan na lahat kayo ay nasa mabuting kalagayan at ang inyong mga anak, ganun din. No? Well, sometimes the title I give this is Parenting the Wired Generation because that's what your kids are. Yung mga anak ninyo, hindi nila alam ang mundo na walang computer. I mean, really, that's the reality of it. Tayong mga medyo nakakatanda, we lived through a bit of time where there was no computer. There was no cell phone. But not the kids today. Not your children. They don't know a world without cell phone. They don't know a world without computer. And so ibang-ibang mindset, ibang-ibang mentality, ibang-ibang attitude, outlook. And so it's very important that we know how to take care of them, how to raise them up to be good men and women in spite of the kind of environment that they live in. Because in fact, really, the truth is, hinahanda natin ang mga kabataan not for tomorrow, not for next week. We are preparing them for 10, 15, 20 years from now when they will be professionals, when they will be married men and women with their own families. Pero think about it. Have you tried to imagine how the world will be 20 years from now? We cannot describe it. In the same manner that 20 years ago, I don't think I could imagine that time that I could make a phone call from the car, from inside climbing a mountain. Kasi during that time, even just to get a PLDT line, you will have to wait for years. I mean, literally, we used to wait for years to be able to get PLDT lines. So, to make a phone call anywhere 20 years ago, I think it was not thinkable. I mean, it was like a Buck Rogers kind of movie scenario. No? Pero now, um, having a cell phone is as normal as having a pair of rubber shoes. That's the kind of world that we're living in right now. So, what will the world be like 20 years from now? It's very tough to imagine. We cannot clearly describe it. But I know because you put your children in Holy Angel University, I know you value values. I mean, many of you precisely chose Holy Angel University because alam ninyo, bibigyan sila ng magandang education, Catholic upbringing, Catholic values. So I know your concern more is kahit anong klaseng mundo ang naghihintay sa kanila for 20 years from now, we want them to be good and to do good. That is bottom line. Kahit ano pang klaseng mundo yan. Even if we cannot describe it, we want the young people today, your teenagers, your children, to grow up to be good and to do good even when it is difficult. And you cannot deny it. Ang hirap maging mabait ngayon with the kind of environment with the kind of environment that your children have to contend with, have to grow up in. Ang hirap maging santo nitong mga araw na to. What with the pornography available very easily for anyone, even for a grade 1 kid. What with the kind of morals that we are seeing? Even just, especially ngayon, election period, people are throwing trash at each other, trying to destroy each other's name. Para bang ito ang kinalalakihan ng mga kabataan ngayon with all these parang culture of anger, hatred, negativity. Social media is very toxic these days. But still, kahit anong klaseng mundo pa yan, we want your children, our children, to grow up to do good and to be good, even when it is difficult and even when no one is looking. We have to go against this trend among politicians. We're not generalizing, pero we see it happening. Para bang may ibang politicians na ang kanilang standard is it's okay to steal for as long as you don't get caught. No, that's not the kind of standard we want the young people to grow up in. We want them to do good even when no one is looking. And even when the others are not. We want your children, we want our sons and daughters to grow up doing good, being good, even when araw-araw na manood ka ng 24 oras, TV Patrol, Action TV, ang makikita mo is criminality, dishonesty, lying and stealing and corruption. And even when the others are not, gusto natin ang mga kabataan lalaking mabuti at gumagawa ng tama. Now, it is challenging because your kids are growing up in a very weird environment. Sabi ko nga, minsan inintroduce ako sa Cebu. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our speaker, Mr. Antoy, to talk about raising children of character in a weird world, wired generation dapat, wired world. But really, that's the kind of world the young people are growing up in. Medyo weird. Kailangang picturean ang kanilang pagkain bago mag-umpisang kumain. Kailangang picturean ang sarili sa Starbucks at i-post sa social media at ipaalam sa buong mundo na nandun sila sa Starbucks. That we were not like that when we were younger. And yet today, that's the kind of environment, that's the kind of mindset, mentality itong mga maraming kabataan ngayon are growing up in. Some of them will even go live in Facebook. Let me see. Let's put them in silent mode, okay? Para hindi ma-distract ang iba. Okay, so some young people today will go live in Facebook, right? Waiting for people to appear, audience, viewers, waiting for people to like, share, comment. And some of us find that weird. I mean, what's the point of going live just to be watched by friends or even by strangers? I mean, what's with that? Well, that's the kind of world the young people are growing up in, where likes and comments and shares, followers, are like the measure kung gaano ka kasikat. If you are an influencer, if you are, well, popular, famous, sabi nga nila. And this is bad because some young people are growing up thinking that dignity, self-worth is dependent on the number of followers and likes that you have. Many of you are familiar with TikTok. The algorithm, the engineering of TikTok is designed in such a way that it encourages these young people to have as many followers, to get as many likes, to get as many comments. That's how it is designed. The more followers, the more likes, the happier you will be in TikTok. I mean, what's the point of filming yourself for 30 seconds, dancing, learning the dance moves, and then dalawa lang ang nag-like, dalawa lang ang nanood? Medyo parang, what's the point? So, It's designed to get the young people to go for 1 million likes. In fact, some people in TikTok do that, no? Road to 1 million. Yan. So that's the kind of world the young people are growing up in. The environment is in manipulating them to have that insatiable need to be noticed, to be validated, to be entertained, to be liked, to be shared. And this is the reason why some of us feel very uneasy when we read posts of young people expressing their opinion. Minsan iisipin mo na lang, anong pakialam ko sa opinion mo tungkol sa pelikulang pinanood mo? I mean, can't you just enjoy the movie without having to let the world know if you like it or you didn't like it? But that's the world they're living in. That is how the social media is engineered. It's telling them, mag-log in ka sa Facebook, anong unang makikita mo? Nakalagay doon, man, what's on your mind? It's telling you to express yourself, to let the world know your idea, your opinion, your feeling, di ba? I mean, nagugulat tayo minsan, kailangan mong ipaalam sa buong mundo, you're feeling blessed, you're feeling sad, you're feeling happy. That's the kind of world that the young people are growing up in. The environment is telling them, express yourself. Let the world know your feelings. And it's very addicting. You know, that thing of posting something tapos being liked by 1,000 friends, and some of them you've never met in your life, being liked and shared by strangers. That's very addicting. It brings, sabi nga nila, parang nagre-release ng dopamine, which is equivalent to the same chemical released when a person is addicted to drugs. I mean, social media is almost like drugs. That's why the young people have that constant craving to be connected. Some of them, ang kanilang kasiyahan, kaligayahan, kasayahan is dependent on how strong the internet connection is. Yan. Pag malakas ang internet ay napakasaya. Napakasaya. Pagka biglang nawala ang internet, abay galit na galit. Galit na galit sa Smart, sa Globe, sa Convergys. Teka muna, nagkaroon lang ng downtime. But that's how the world is right now. Young people are manipulated to be constantly connected. So, you parents, I'm sure, have been hearing your children, especially teenagers, complaining more and more, Nay, ang sakit ng ulo ko, nahihilo ko. Sasabihin ng nanay, ayan, kate-text mo yan. Kasi cellphone mo. Nay, bumagsak po ako sa PE. Ayan, kasi cellphone mo, ka-internet mo. Nay, buntis po ako. Ayan, kasi cellphone mo, ka-internet mo. Lahat na lang sinisi sa internet, lahat na lang sinisi sa cellphone. But, okay, let's go back to that text tilt. Kasi cellphone mo. Oo nga naman, ano? Kasi if a person is texting, he is looking down, right? And that's not the normal posture of a human being. Our face, our head is designed. Now we are looking forward. We are looking ahead, not looking down, which is when you do that, your head, your neck is like carrying 60 pounds of pressure. No wonder you can have a kid who spent the whole weekend with his iPad or with his iPhone or with his tablet or with a computer or with a cell phone. Pagdating ng Monday, ay talagang masakit ang ulo kasi buong weekend nakaganyan ang kanyang ulo. That's what you call the text tilt trauma. And we are going to continue hearing more and more of this complaint from young people. Nahihilo, ang sakit ng leeg. Parang stressed ako. Monday morning pa lang pero parang pagod na ako. Ayan, it can be brought about by too much screen time, tiredness, headaches. Something you need to know, parents, yung blue light, yung blue screen ng cellphone, ng tablet, ng television, ng computer, it's sending a signal to the brain that it is still daytime. Okay? Please remember this. The blue screen, the blue light coming from being emitted by the computer or by the cell phone, by the tablet, it sends a signal to the brain that it is still daytime. Kaya yung mga batang nagsa-cellphone habang nakahiga sa kama, thinking na aantukin sila, ay hindi sila aantukin because the signal being sent to the brain is it's still daytime. Continue surfing, continue scrolling, continue liking, hearting, commenting, and sharing. So, you will have more and more young people complaining of these things with the excessive exposure to the screen. Something that I may have mentioned in some past sessions. The young people today don't live for the moment, they live for the foment. Ayan. Kaya pag nanood sila ng concert, nakikita mo, binibidyo yung buong performance ng, ay, teka muna, nung ako'y bata, nanonood ako sa Araneta Coliseum ng concert ni Angela Bofill. Ayan. O kaya ng Frali Polipi. We danced along, we sang along, we watched and enjoyed the moment. But not the young people today. They will take a video of it. Why? Because they get a bigger kick and they enjoy the pleasure of being able to post it in Facebook, in Twitter, in Instagram, and let the world know that they were there in the concert. And then the biggest thrill, the biggest happiness is when people start liking, commenting, wow, nakakaingit naman, swerte mo. That's when they get the bigger kick out of the experience. It's a foment. It's a moment for the phone. That's the kind of world the young people are living in today. And you notice some of these are creeping into our lifestyle. Ibig sabihin, even I'm not just talking about teenagers now. I may also be talking about some of you, dear parents. You may also have parang acquired the same kind of lifestyle of living for the foment instead of the moment. My dear parents, all these are bringing about a certain crisis in character, especially among the young people. That's why now more than ever, kailangan nila tayo, kailangan nila ang guidance ninyo at nating mga guro. So, what are we seeing? Aba, parang maraming mga bata ngayon, they don't know patience anymore. I mean, napansin ninyo, parang ang iksi ng kanilang pasensya. Yung naputo lang yung wifi ng kaunting bahagyang-bahagya lang, abay galit na, inis na. They cannot wait. I mean, waiting has become like a boring thing to do. They don't know how to wait anymore the way we were trained to wait. Empathy, because you can have a kid today who, especially nitong pandemic, nangyari, nakakulong sa bahay and spending the whole day with a screen. Instead of going out like you and me, we did when we were younger. Lumalabas tayo. Pag walang pasok, abay, nasa labas tayo. Umaakyat ng puno, naglalaro ng tumbang preso, bahay-bahayan, habulan, taguan, lungsong tinik, shato. Ayan. Maraming mga bata ngayon, hindi na nila alam yan. Ang alam nila, World of Warcraft, Counter-Strike, Clash of Clans, ML. Ayan, yun yung alam nila. So, if a kid does not spend time with other kids, how can they learn empathy? Empathy is learned through dealing with other human beings. And then focus. Sabi ng research, ang mga kabataan ngayon have a hard time focusing. Their attention span is 2 seconds lower than that of the goldfish. Now, that sounds like an exaggeration, but what can I do? That's what the research says. They have a hard time concentrating. The comprehension is more difficult than ever because while reading, their mind may be in something visual. The movie that they watched, yung K-drama na tinapos nila yung buong series, yung buong season over the weekend. Nag-marathon, nag-Netflix marathon. And then memorization, they don't like it. Sabi ng research, the young people today um, have that mindset na, bakit ko memorizein yan? Isang Google lang yan. 2 seconds, I can get the preamble of the Constitution of the Philippines. What's the point of memorizing? So, some of them grow up with that kind of dislike for memorization work. All these, the social media, the technology, it's like all these are responsible for feeding the brain with fast food. Not solid, healthy food, but fast food. Diba? That's why yung they have to think in headlines. Abay, why should I read such a long novel when I can get the summary in Wikipedia? When I can Google it, and I'm sure I will be able to get the summary somewhere. So that's technology. While it has done us a lot of good, is also responsible for ito, substituting the brain, thinking in headlines, the need for instant response, the inability to memorize, and then that instant gratification. And so, my dear parents, sorry to say, but yes, we will expect more disorders coming out if we do not help the young people develop strength of character. You will have dissatisfaction, ranting of, you read that, di ba? Minsan sa social media may mga bata na nagpo-post ng tungkol sa away nila sa kanilang kapatid. I mean, kailangan ba talagang ipaalam mo sa buong mundo na nag-aaway kayo ng iyong nanay? They post it, they rant in public, even about things that, di ba dapat, ano yan, intimate? The internet is responsible for medyo parang nawala ang what we call intimacy. Yan. And then these narcissistic tendencies, being self-centered, inflated or deflated ego. Di ba? We're already seeing many of these among many young people. Self-centered disposition. And then, nabanggit ko kanina yung sleeping, di ba? Parang dumadami ang mga kabataan na nagsasabi, may insomnia ako. Ay, iho, wala kang insomnia. Ipikit mo ang iyong mata at matulog ka, makakatulog ka. Hindi ka nakakatulog kasi bukas ang cellphone mo, bukas ang Netflix mo, bukas ang Spotify mo. Subukan mo kayang patayin lahat yan at ipikit mo ang iyong mata. Tingnan mo, makakatulog ka. You don't have insomnia. You just have to sleep. This is, I mean, I've been inside the classroom for 34 years, and sad to say, I hear more and more teenagers complain about having insomnia. Hindi raw sila makatulog, and they blame genetics or whatever. No, blame Netflix. Blame your blame your habit of not turning off the gadget when in fact it's time to sleep. So we will continue hearing more of these disorders if we don't help the young people navigate this digital world that they are immersed in. At hindi nakatulong ang pandemic because it forced them to even spend more time in front of the screen. Yan. 'Di ba? Good families, meron kayong house rules, 'di ba? No computer if there is school time or if there is school, ganyan, no? Paano yun ngayon? School time is also computer time. O kaya may mga ibang pamilya, no computer games until you're done with your assignment. Yan. The kids can say, I'm doing my assignment. Ayan. Di ba? Pagka walang nakatingin na magulang, ay nag-EML. Pero pag biglang dadating si nanay, uy, biglang Microsoft Word ang lalabas. Natakpan yung. So, we are going to continue hearing more of these orders if we do not help the young people navigate responsibly this digital world that they are immersed in. And then we hear of other disorders that really should make good parents sit up and really be on the lookout for telltale signs that their son or their daughter may be um, addicted to technology, addicted to gadget, addicted to computers, and they need help. They need intervention of the parents. Okay, here's the first strategy. Therefore, I'd like to share with all of you parents. Tulungan natin sila matuto ng tinatawag nating digital detoxification because it can be addicting. Digital lifestyle can be almost equal to addiction if they don't know how to responsibly navigate the digital world. So, kahit tayo mismo, mga magulang, we, the adults, maybe we also need a bit of digital detoxification. Here are 7 ways to detoxify our life, our lifestyle, ourselves of digital. Number 1, turn off notifications. Don't let Facebook be the one dictating on you. Uy, may nag-like ng post mo. Balik ka sa Facebook. Yan ang notification eh. Ganyan ang notification. Yung biglang magre-remind sa'yo, somebody shared your post. Come back. Come back to Facebook. It's effectively the message being sent to you. Ay, no. Turn it off and learn how to do it in your gadget. You should be the one determining when you will go back to Facebook and not Facebook dictating on you or Instagram or Twitter or TikTok or whatever it is. Come back. There is a message. Come back. There is a no. Turn off notification and be in control and not the other way around. Facebook is the one controlling some people. Number 2, 'di ba napansin mo minsan yung kaibigan mo, yung kapitbahay mo, kahit anong i-post niya, naiinis ka minsan. Naku, pinost na naman yung kanyang adobo. Naku, pinost na naman ang kanyang baby. Naku, pinost na naman ang kanilang ulam. Naiinis ka, 'di ba minsan? You know, if consistently you get upset, irritated, bad vibes because of posts of somebody, i-delete mo na lang siya. uh, i-unfriend mo or make sure you don't follow para hindi nag-a-appear because you have to free yourself of any toxicity. Or minsan, lalo na ngayon, election time, di ba? Whatever camp you belong in politics, minsan may mga lumalabas na news about yung kandidato ng kabila, naiinis ka, umiinit ang ulo mo, kumukulo ang dugo mo, delete mo na lang yon or unfollow, unfriend. In fact, Facebook gives you many opportunities. Hindi lang to delete. You can delete, you can hide, you can mute for 1 hour, for 1 day, for until you bring it back. You can block, you can take a break, you can unfollow, you can unfriend. But don't just leave it at that if consistently you get toxic feelings when you see that page, when you see that person's posts. You be in control. That's part of digital detoxification. Number 3, parents, airplane mode in the cell phone is not just for the airplane. Okay? It's also for family time, for dinner time. Make it, for example, it's very nice. Some families, I know, they make it a policy. Put to airplane mode your cell phone during dinner time, prayer time, mass, when you go to mass as a family. Either you don't bring it with you, you turn it off, or you put it in airplane mode because family time is more important than replying to that text message. I mean, I don't think there will be any emergency that cannot wait. Unless, of course, if there is a family emergency that you have to be on the lookout for messages. But otherwise, most of the time, family time is sacred for good families, and they make sure the cell phone does not intervene. Okay? Number 4, it's okay to make your gadget rest every so often. For example, this Saturday, I will not even turn on the tablet. Okay, good, very nice. O kaya, Friday, in commemoration of the passion and death of our Lord, I will not um, log into Facebook. Okay, very nice. You and your gadgets need rest. And even if you don't log into Facebook for a day, I tell you, you're not going to miss much. The world will go on moving and you are happier. Number 5, develop a certain laser focus. Bakit ka pupunta ng internet ngayon? Because I need to get the telephone number of a company. Okay, laser focus. As soon as you get the telephone number, log out. That's it. That's developing a certain laser focus. Why will you log in now? Why will you go to the internet now? A specific purpose. And then after it, you go out. Otherwise, you know what happens to some people. Kukuha lang sila ng phone number ng isang company. They go, ay, ano na kaya ang headline sa Inquirer.net? Oy, sino bang nanalo sa NBA kagabi? NBA.com. Ano na ba? And then before you know it, 1 hour has passed and sayang, we could have done a lot of things in that 1 hour. Okay, it's good to ask ourselves this question. Will connecting at this moment really help me achieve my goals? So, that's laser focus. Number 6, deepen real, human, face-to-face, family connection. Because the best things in life happen in real life, not online. Embrace downtime. If one day, biglang nag-down ang internet, ang Globe, ang Smart, ang Convert, whatever provider, okay, embrace it. No need to be upset, be angry, be toxic. Ayan. Embrace downtime because the best things in life happen in real life. Now, my dear parents, the reason why I'm sharing all this with you is because ito ang hinaharap na pagsubok ng mga kabataan ngayon. The kind of world that they're living in right now is something unique. It's something unique. Historically, researchers describe this particular environment as pernicious, insidious, and clandestine in the way it manipulates mindset. For example, ito ang batang lumalaki ngayon. Hopefully later we will be able to answer some questions. I'm already seeing some questions in the chat box and in Facebook. Here is a kid growing up today. Look at the challenges a child today is facing. And many of these, hindi ko hinarap as a child. I mean, nung ako'y bata, hindi ko ito kailangang problemahin. But a kid today has to contest or contend with video game addiction. Yan, di ba? Sabi nila that's the most normal thing nowadays. Kids getting addicted to video games. Violence in media. Abay, ibang klaseng violence ang kanilang exposure ngayon. Katatapos lang ng Halloween at saka ang nakita niyong mga sineng pinalabas, yung mga movies of gore and blood and murder and yan. Violence, ibang klaseng level of violence that the young people are growing up in are exposed to, especially the video games that they play, where the more you kill, the more points you get, the higher level you go in the game. It's bringing about what the researchers call desensitization. Yan, nawawala ang kanilang sensitivity to, violence, precisely. And then nandyan yung pornography, and then nandyan yung materialism, and then nandyan yung hedonism. O nga naman kasi, with the so many hours of screen time, watching movies, television, YouTube videos, they all come with hours and hours of commercials, advertisements. Lahat naman ng advertisements, iisa lang ang mensahe. Just do it. Enjoy yourself. Satisfy your thirst. It's all about hedonism and materialism. Upgrade. Don't be satisfied with iPhone 10. Meron ng iPhone 13. That's the message they receive. Para bang don't be left behind. The commercials are always packaged that way. Well, they foster greed, hedonism, materialism. If a kid is not helped on how to contend with these assaults, kaya yan ang tawag ko dito sa kanila, they are assaults on children today. Then they are the victims. And here's more. You see, the environment, all these we see in the environment, religious indifference, divorce, alcoholism, softness, moral relativism, fake heroes presented by ABS-CBN, GMA 7, Hollywood. That's what we see. Fake heroes being presented to the young people in movies, in television shows, and then drug addiction. There's no escaping because young people today are very immersed in technology. I mean, it's not like nung bata ako, not all houses had television sets. Aba ngayon, having a television is as normal as I said, having a pair of slippers, for example, for the family. Well, the same thing now with computers and cell phones. In fact, there are more cell phones in the Philippines than human beings.
Netflix po.
Okay? There are more cell phones now than human beings in the Philippines. I think 120 million phones versus population of 110 million. That's how it is. And kids like this, right? Batang-bata pa lang, minsan ang cellphone niya mas sophisticated kesa sa atin, kesa sa iyo, kesa sa cellphone mo. But let me make it very clear, dear parents, I am not against technology. I am not against technology. Thanks to technology, we continue learning like this. We continue being connected like this. Thanks to technology, we continue being able to reach out to you and to your children. Technology is here to stay. But unfortunately, the tech people are just coming up with more and more apps for kids. That's why you can have kids today who develop a certain sense of entitlement. You know, di ba mga parents, meron kayong anak na pupunta sa'yo at sasabihin, Nanay, kailangan ko ng cellphone. Ako na lang ang wala sa klase. Ayan. Ako na lang ang wala sa klase. Para bang I'm entitled to it. I have to have it because all my classmates in grade 1 already have cell phones. Sense of entitlement. Or your kid coming to you, Daddy, kailangan natin ng high-speed internet. Hindi pwedeng babagal-bagal. I need it for my homework, for my project, for my assignment, I deserve it. I am entitled to it. Sense of entitlement, ang lakas sa maraming mga kabataan ngayon because of this kind of environment. So, I repeat, I am not against technology, but yes, we need to make sure itong batang ito is in control of technology and not the other way around, which is happening now. I see some young people being controlled by technology. Para bang now you need to upgrade. Now you have to get the latest. Don't be satisfied with iPhone 10. Meron ng 12, meron ng 13. Bagsak presyo na ang iPhone 11. That kind. Yung they become controlled by the environment, by technology. So that's the kind of world that the young people are growing up in, and we need to make sure they are not manipulated. They are not made into like puppets by technology, but that they continue being the responsible owners and in control of technology. But that is just, my dear parents, to let you know that wow, we need to understand them. Okay, the young people need to be understood if we are to help them. Sure, we want them to grow up doing good and being good, but we need to understand where they're coming from. Hindi nila kasalanan na merong Netflix. Okay? I mean, it's not their fault that technology is easily available now. It's not their fault that the whole um, season 1, 2, and 3 of that K-drama is already available and they can watch at any time. I mean, it's technology. That's how it is. That's how the world is. What we need to do is to teach these young people sometimes to say no. In other words, parents, sometimes no may be the most loving word you can tell your child. Nay, pwede ba akong manood ngayon? Wag mo na iho. Buong linggo ng wala ka nang ginawa. Sure, walang klase ngayon, pero meron kayong mental health break ngayon. Pero siguro you can do other things other than just watching yung napakaraming episodes na natapos mo. Daddy, kailangan ko ng bagong cellphone. No, maybe the most loving word at that moment. Okay pa naman yung phone mo na ginagamit ngayon. Next time na lang, iho. Pag-ipunan muna natin. Next time na lang. No may be the most loving word we can tell them at certain moments. So that is part of making sure that they grow up to be good and to do good, even when it is difficult, even when no one is watching, and even when the others are not. I'm not against technology because it has many positive sides, really. Thanks to technology, information is easily accessible, right? I mean, life has been far better than ever before because of technology. In fact, now, ang daling mag-aral ng mga bagong languages, napakarami sa internet, libre pa madalas. Learning Spanish on your own through the internet, learning, um, developing their English skills through the internet, or developing their math skills through games. Ang daming mga apps ngayon, for example, that can teach kids to add, subtract, divide, multiply in a very exciting way. More exciting than how the math teacher does it inside the classroom, or softwares that develop their creativity, their mm, imagination. The technology is fantastic. Or even I have seen apps that help young people compose music through certain websites, or fantastic, right? I mean, these are all part of the positive side of computer technology, gadgets, and even connecting with people has become far easier than ever in the history of mankind. I mean, let's face it, even some of you suddenly are connected with your high school classmates na hindi mo pa nakita in 20 years. Suddenly, you're connected in Facebook, in Instagram, in LinkedIn, in Twitter. Fantastic, right? These are all fantastic positive sides of technology, gadgets, internet. However, with all these also come spread of fake news. Yan. Di ba? Um, Sabi daw to ni Thomas Edison, of course, this is a fake news. I mean, he did not live to see the internet. and yet, there are people today who are so gullible as to believe anything that is posted in the internet. And that is what some politicians are using in order to try to rewrite history, to revise history. Historical revisionism is a very diabolical thing, and that some politicians are using in order to spread lies, to sway mindsets, to get votes. We need to help the young people navigate this world that they're living in right now. Okay? We need to help them develop digital wisdom. My dear parents, young kids cannot do this on their own. This is where they need us more than ever. But there is no stopping technology. It's here to stay. This may very well be the classroom next year. Everyone with his own laptop. I mean, this is not far from reality. In many universities, this is the scene already. Everybody with his own laptops and tablets and gadgets, and no more pens and pencils and papers. This is the world we're living in right now, and that's just how things are going to go. Okay, so then let me give you some tips in how to make sure that your kids, especially the teenagers, will still grow up to be good and to do good in spite of the kind of environment that they live in right now. Here's number one. Parents, please know what your children are doing. You don't have to have a TikTok account, but please do know what it's all about. But why your son may be spending 1 hour rehearsing the dance move for a 30-second video that he will upload. Now, uh, TikTok, I have mentioned it, it's very creative. It's fantastic. It's a very wonderful tool to develop creativity among the children. And I've seen really very highly creative videos being produced by young people, sometimes even very funny. But here's my observation. Unfortunately, 70% of the dance moves I've seen are either salacious, bordering on indecent, or even may parang may touch of sensuality, which well, parang ang observation ko is, will they do this in front of their parents? I don't think so. And they do it because anyway they know their parents will not be in TikTok. So it's important that you know what your children are doing, what this is all about. Don't just give them any video games for Christmas gift. Learn or research how violent that video game is. One of the most popular video games is called GTA, Grand Theft Auto. And some parents don't know that it is actually harmful. On the violent side, it can actually be harmful. And yet many parents gave it as a Christmas gift or birthday gift to their children. So know what those things are. You don't need to be an expert in them, but at least know certain principles about them so that you are aware about what your children are really doing. And then we have to make them admit that sometimes, if not many times, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, they can be weapons of mass distraction. I mean, really, they may be preventing your son, your daughter from being um, maximal in output. Maybe yung assignment na yan, he or she could have finished it last week if not for the distraction that got in the way. Some of them, of course, will be very defensive. Hindi naman distracting to eh. Nakakatulong nga eh. Nai-inspire ako dahil sa connection ko with my friends. Okay, they may not be telling a lie when they say that. They may be telling the truth. But the truth of the matter also many times is they can be a source of distraction, especially if they have lost control over the use of social media. And then, please, parents, make sure you have certain house rules about the use of gadgets, especially among the very young, in the house. Don't be afraid to make house rules. After all, ma'am naman, kayo ang nagbabayad ng internet, kayo ang nagbabayad ng kuryente, kayo ang bumili ng cellphone na yan at ng tablet na yan at ng computer. You have the right to be in control. And okay, if you agree with them that after 10 in the evening, no more cell phone, no more tablet, why not? Do you need to turn off the Wi-Fi? Why not? Here's very sad thing I've seen in many families. Parents, di ba, marami sa inyo, parang you're very particular about the friends that your child invites over to the house? 'Di ba? Marami sa inyo ganyan. Ini-investigate nyo muna bago nyo payagan yung anak nyo pa imbitahin itong kaibigan niya. Gusto nyo malaman sinong tatay niyan, anong trabaho ng nanay niyan, sino yung pamilyang yan. You're very particular kasi ayaw ninyo na makaibigan ng anak ninyo ng drug pusher. Of course, na ayaw ninyo magkaibigan ang anak ninyo with um, mga anak na nagmumura. Ayan, di ba? I mean, you're very particular. Then, my question is, why do you allow your son, your daughter, to have his or her own tablet, gadget inside the bedroom and with Wi-Fi connected 24 hours? And he or she can bring in any visitor through the tablet. I mean, when they watch videos in the privacy of their bedroom, they lock the door. It's like you are allowing them to invite any visitor to come into their bedroom, including prostitutes, drug addicts, criminals, murderers, rapists. I mean, it's almost the same of allowing them to let in anyone into their bedroom. And that's why my question is, then bakit nyo binibigyan sila ng sarili nilang computer, kanilang sariling gadget with their own Wi-Fi internet in their bedroom? So that's one of those things I need to always tell parents. Parents, maybe you need to have rules about the Wi-Fi connection at home. And then let them face consequences if they break any of those house rules that you put in place. And when you discuss house rules, you will tell them, it's not that we don't trust you. It's not that we don't love you. That's why we're limiting your freedom. In fact, we love you enough that we want the best for you. We are concerned about you. That's why we are putting this in place, these house rules, these parameters. So for your own sake, because we want you to be successful. And then if they choose to break any of those, then they have to also be willing to face the consequences. Discuss with your children. Their actions have consequences, which is the rule of life. I mean, kahit saan ka magpunta, hindi lang yan sa bahay. Kahit saan. Actions have consequences. Okay? So ito yung sinasabi ko kanina, maybe better yung computer with internet connection, put it in a public place along the corridor or in a study room at home where anyone can enter. They don't lock the door. Again, it's not that you don't trust them. It's not that you don't have faith in them. It's just you want the best for them. You don't want them to find them. You don't want to find. You don't want that they find themselves in an uncomfortable situation. You're actually helping them. So that's how it is. In the same manner that you are very particular about the visitors they bring into your house. Educate your children about the internet, about the positives and the potential dangers, because there are. Let's not be naive and let's not allow them to manipulate us into thinking that we are just old, ano yun, yung parang yung sinauna. Hindi, we're not old-fashioned. We continue to be good parents. That's why we put certain parameters in place, certain things in place, and then make sure that they are able to open up to you. If they happen to end up in a pornographic site and they feel bad about it, that they bring it up with you. Or they met a friend who made them feel uncomfortable in the chat, to bring it up with you, to discuss those things with you. Make sure that you're there, always ready to listen to them. And then many of them will deny that they're addicted, that they need help. Okay, well, let's ask the experts. Experts, ano bang ibig sabihin ng being addicted to computer? Ito ang sinabi ng mga experts. Here are the telltale signs that your son or your daughter already is addicted to technology and needs help. If most of non-school hours are spent on the computer or playing video games, that's a sign. If they start falling asleep in school activities, school work, school related work at home, they feel bored doing that, but they are very alive watching all the anime videos, and then maybe there is already a bit of addiction there. Not keeping up with assignments. The teachers start telling you, ma'am, hindi na naman nag-submit ang anak ninyo. Maybe we look into their computer use. Parang nag-aaral lang pala, hindi pala gumagawa ng work. Maybe they need more supervision. And then, worsening grades. And then, lying about computer or video game use. Kasi ganyan ang maraming magandang pamilya, no? Yung mga mabuting pamilya, meron silang house rules. Um, Tapos minsan uuwi ang tatay ng gabi, oh, bakit ka nagko-computer? Tapos ka na ba mag-aral? Kasi yun ang house rule. Tapos sasabihin niya, oo, tapos na, pero hindi pa. That's already sign of computer addiction. When they start resorting to lying, yan. Choosing to use the computer for to play video games or play video games rather than see friends. Yan. There's already computer addiction there. Dropping out of other social groups. They give up the varsity team, they give up the chess club, because they prefer now to just be in front of the computer playing games. Or ito, marami minsan itong reklamo natin. Irritable. Mainitin ang ulo pag hindi naglalaro ng computer games. Yan. Or on the computer. They are all telltale signs and they need help if our son, our daughter happens to have these signs. And then physical symptoms, yung carpal tunnel syndrome, no? Ito laging nirereklamong masakit, ayan. Sleep disturbances, they have difficulty sleeping, they complain about insomnia, they complain that they keep on waking up at 2 a.m. and hindi na sila makabalik sa tulog. It may have something to do with their screen exposures, their screen time. They complain about the back aches, neck aches, headaches, dry eyes, or even worse is when they prefer to be in front of the computer than to take a bath. Ayan. Or to eat dinner with the family. Minsan ganyan sa bahay, ano? Para bang kailangan mong tawagin 10 beses. Baba ka na rito, kakain na tayo. You need to repeat that 10 times. Minsan ganun yung problema in some houses, ano? Tug of war, the computer tagging them and the parents tagging them the other way. Then meron na tayong computer addiction case na kailangan tulungan natin sila. So let me just end with a few principles. Parents, please take control. Be the ones in control and don't be afraid to take control. Pag sabihin natin even at a certain point, we need to confiscate the gadget kasi sobra na talaga. Tapos yung anak mo nandun naglulupaypay at nag-iiyak. No, at that moment, maybe the most loving word you're giving them. Take control. Don't be afraid to take control because after all, kayo ang nagbabayad ng kuryente, kayo ang bumili niyan. Because let's admit it, and we have to make them admit it, internet addiction is damaging. Not just in the grades, not just in their hygiene, in many ways, in the way they're able to concentrate, the way they're able to focus. Pero all these things I've mentioned so far, you realize we can only teach them by example. So when I ask here, can they, parents, I will need to also ask this of ourselves. Can we put down our phones or tablets when it's time to do so, when it's dinner time, when our son, our daughter is speaking to us? Can we focus on a conversation without having to check our phones every few minutes? Di ba minsan meron tayong cases of like that, no? Na parang tingin ng tingin sa cellphone. put that down and see, I mean, look at the person you're talking to face, looking at the eyes and listening really. Can they and us, can we handle the peer pressure related to owning the latest gadgets? Can they share devices with their siblings? Do they have a balanced set of interests? All these we can teach the young people through our example. For all you know, you don't need to make a house rule about no cell phone over dinner or over lunch or in the dining table if we ourselves make sure we don't do it. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is, bakit si nanay, bakit si tatay, siya nga sumasagot pa sa tawag habang nasa lunch. We have to do it by example and then they will follow. The presents that we live in are the futures that our pasts have imagined. Let us hope that the technologies of the future will also be designed to protect that which is sacred and that which is important in our own understanding of being human. Finally, my dear parents of Holy Angel University, do not underestimate the power of faith. Parenting has become harder than ever, not just because of the pandemic, but because of this digital world that the young people are living in, that they're growing up in. We need God. We need the grace. And that's why I'd like to end my presentation inviting you to join me in going to St. Joseph. We're about to end the year of St. Joseph, the master teacher of the master teacher. I mean, Joseph was the one who taught Jesus, who raised him up as a boy and as a teenager. And so he is the best person that we can run to ask for help. St. Joseph, tulungan mo naman akong palakihin itong anak ko na maging mabuti at gumawa ng mabuti. And so, I like, besides he's the terror of demons, that's one of the titles the church gives St. Joseph, terror of demons. And mind you, with all these technological advances in the world today, we're seeing it comes with a lot of demons, the demon of pornography, the demon of hedonism, materialism, and laziness, and the addiction to gadget and technology. And so let's go to St. Joseph. I'd like to invite you to join me in praying this prayer of parents to St. Joseph as I end my presentation. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. O blessed St. Joseph, guardian of the child Jesus, we pray that you will help us in our daily troubles and tribulations as we try to pass on to our children all the teachings that they need to be able to succeed in their chosen professions. Help us to teach and help them to learn. Guide us all as you guided your most holy Son, Jesus. Obtain for us the graces we need, not only to teach and to learn, but to stay on the path shown by the light of Christ. Amen. Mary, seat of wisdom, our hope, take care of us. Pray for us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you very much, dear parents. That brings to end my presentation.
On behalf of the Holy Angel University, we thank Professor Emmanuel Rentoy for sharing with us his invaluable experiences, insights, and reflections regarding our theme. Well, I personally was caught upon the question posed by Sermon at the start of his sharing. He asked, have you ever imagined how the world will be 20 years from now? But amidst the noise around us, the influences, the manipulations, whatever world it is, we want the young today to be good and to do good. Well, given the very broad center of information, its accessibility, but how can we be intelligent in dealing with the social media? And we were given insights or inputs by Sermon on how to detoxify the self and our world. And well, amidst the different forms of violence online, the social media, may we not be manipulated or be used negatively and harmfully by technology, but may we be in control? How? By utilizing the positive sides of technology, of the social media, to implement among our children the different parenting tools presented to us by Sir Man. And we have to bear in mind, it is in us, we, the teachers, and of course you as parents and guardians, that our generation today, that will determine the future of our children. So once again, we thank Sir Man. And we now take the opportunity to address some of the questions posed by the attendees to this webinar. So once again, let us have Professor Man Trentoy. So,
Okay. Yeah. There's one question about um, what can parents do, no? As an alternative to online games, for example, or video games that are really very addicting and very attractive for the young people. Thank you very much for bringing that up. I need to make sure I mention that it's not enough to prohibit them. Okay, it's not enough to say bawal, no more video games. We need to give them an alternative. So it's not enough to simply say, bakit bawal? Basta, sinabi ko eh. They will not be able to appreciate it. Bawal because you're going to do things as a family. Because you're going to do some board games as a family. And they will realize there's so much more fun with doing activities with a family, going out to visit relatives, going out to go to the beach as a family. In other words, it's not enough to just say no video games. We have to present them with alternatives. Uh, in some cases, for example, alternatives like we will make many fantastic reading materials available at home. Maybe the young people, hindi nila na-realize na reading novels, pocketbooks can be exciting simply because walang novels, walang pocketbooks, walang material sa bahay. So, of course, ang only alternative for them is Netflix and computer games or video games or YouTube. We have to present them with alternatives. And it's fantastic when I meet families, parents who deliberately plan out activities for the family to do as a family, so that the the kids will not just see video games as lame, but that are other more exciting, formative, productive things that they can do. I know some families, for example, making available at home yung mga, how do you call this, yung uh, making dioramas, making models, um, plane models, car models that they piece together, they glue together, puzzles with 1,000 pieces that they cannot finish in one sitting. In other words, maraming ibang alternatives other than simply computer games, and therefore they don't equate either they get bored or they play computer games. Parang it's only those two. No, aside from computer games, there are reading. Okay, there are fantastic videos, for example, that are life changing. Have those videos available for them, materials that they can use instead of simply going to the internet and listlessly surfing, and then before you know it, they end up with certain websites that are damaging or that are immoral and things like that. No? So we help them, and we provide them with other alternatives. It's more challenging, I know, for some parents to be able to do, but that is going to be more rewarding in the end.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have another question here, which I think is very related to the first question. And I just find it very innocent but straightforward question. Ang tanong po niya, bakit kaya di ko mabawal ang anak ko sa online gaming?
That's the problem. If you only start putting in place rules after so many months or so many years that you allowed them to do whatever they wanted to do. That's why, well, if your kids are still young, unang-unang beses pa lang silang nanghihingi ng computer, ng cellphone, ng laptop, ng materials, ng gadgets, from the very beginning, please make sure that, like in life, everything has limits. There's no such thing as absolute freedom in real life. And so when you grant them those gadgets, you tell them it comes with the responsibility. And the more we give you things, materials, the more responsibility now you have. And then, even before we give it to them, we already make sure we have certain parameters and we make them agree na, okay, so ito ang rules ha. Now, what do you think is fair as punishment or consequence if you do not get to follow the rules that we set here? You'll be surprised, minsan yung mga bata, mas matindi ang kanilang consequences na iniisip. Sila mismo ang magsasabing, uh, confiscate for 1 week, no use of gadget for 3 days, yung mga ganyan, ano? But it has to be very clear to them from the very beginning. Now, teenager na ang anak mo, and then after this talk, pinag-isipan mo, kailangan ko na talagang kausapin ng anak ko. Okay, no problem. You can sit down with your son, with your daughter, and tell them, um, this is for your good. Because gusto namin maging successful ka. Gusto namin makapagtapos ka ng high school in the best possible way, because gusto namin makapunta ka sa college of the top choice that you have. So, kailangan nating ilagay in place certain house rules about the way you spend your time, the way you spend your time with computer games, the way you use the gadgets, the way, no problem with doing that, even if uh, para bang lagi na lang kayong nag-aaway nitong mga nakarang araw tungkol sa paggamit ng computer. um, it's very important that you make it very clear you want to put certain things in place because you love them, because you want their success. You are only after their being successful. It's not a punishment. It is just how life is. There are rules to keep in mind and to be able to accomplish things in life. I can
Right?
only wish you luck. And I can also tell you, as I ended, ipagdasal ninyo. I mean, pray for your son, for your daughter, before you sit down with him or her to discuss these things, so that Saint Joseph will inspire them. Our Lady will take care of them to be docile enough to agree to whatever it is that you're going to set for them as house rules or parameters.
Okay, thank you, sir. Considering those house rules, the parameters, and the constant conversation with the children, but how can we make parenting easy to parents nowadays to a digital world of a young one? How can we be
Yeah,
closer to them?
unfortunately, it's not easier. Uh, I have no formula for you to make parenting easier, because as researchers tell us, today parenting has become harder than ever because of this environment, because of this climate, because of the presence of technology, because of the kind of lifestyle that many young people today have grown up to live and to acquire. But the fact that you are parents and they are your children, that fact by itself comes with grace, which we can only count on. Count on the grace of God that He is going to make you a good mother, a good father, in spite of the environment, in spite of the whatever it is right now already in place. And so I'm not exaggerating when I said earlier, rely on God's grace. I ended with going to St. Joseph, and I encourage you to go to God to ask you for the grace to do your parenting successfully, in spite of the fact that it has become harder than ever. And for all you know, that praying that you're going to do for your children is what will also bring them closer to God. And that is the key to making sure that you continue being a happy family, even if you have, I will even say, harsh rules on the use of technology. But the fact that you will have more time now to pray as a family, to bond as a family, all those will bring about good results that you yourself will be surprised to see happening in your family. And that is what will bring about happiness at home. No?
Okay. Well, there are still many questions posed by our participants, especially through the online registration. But given the time restriction, perhaps we can address one more question. And although it is not directly in relation to the digital topic, but in terms of the parenting, the question, sir, is how can a teenager protect his or her mental health in a broken family situation?
Well, the fact that you mentioned broken family by itself is supposed to bring about a number of complications, and that is the reality of life. And that is when I will have to ask you, single parent, if you're the one taking care of your child, if you're the one taking care of that son, that daughter, um, that is when you will need really God's special grace to intervene and to help you in raising your son, your child, your daughter to be a good person in spite of the situation. Um, and I've seen many, many single parents successfully being able to do it. Um, Tougher, more demanding, but they've been successful thanks to the pure heart, I mean, pure love that they have for their child, genuinely seeking what is best for them. And then accompanied by a lot of grace, a lot of prayers from friends, from relatives, and that they themselves put in a lot of time imploring the help of God for the family to succeed in spite of the situation. I just came back from the US and I visited there a friend. The husband abandoned them, and she has two daughters, and the daughters have grown up to be fantastic people, fantastic children, high achievers. The other daughter is um, a musical genius, I would say. She has perfect pitch. I mean, it's really amazing. Brought up by the mother. So, how do you explain that? The single parent, broken home. Well, it's not a broken home because the mother made sure that the children, the two daughters, are raised up to be God fearing, prayerful, and successful in spite of the circumstance. And so, for those of you who may be in that situation, take heart. God continues to provide for you. You will need to implore more and more than ever His help, and let Him be the one to take care of your family and heal the brokenness if there is, and make sure that the children will grow up to be strong and good, doing good and being good in spite of the circumstance, and you will be successful. God continues to provide for you. God will make sure that you are able to successfully face this challenge.